Thanks very much. First of all, I want to acknowledge, as all of you do, and as anyone who believes in the connection of Palestine and Palestinian people to the land of Palestine, that this land too is First Nations land. This always was and always will be Gadigal land. Always was. I can't believe we've had to be doing this for now 43 weeks. 43 weeks of standing up and showing principles that our government has refused to show. But I can tell you now that in a fortnight, when I go back into Parliament and go back into that Senate and I look at the Labor government and I look at the coalition and I think, what Australia do you stand for? What's the Australia that they stand for? Is it the Australian of weapons manufacturers and toadies to the United States? The Australia that turns its eye away from war crimes and the death of children? Because that is the country that they stand for. And it's not the Australia I know. And it's not the Australia that's here. And it's not the Australia that's shown up now for 43 weeks to demand a different country, a different planet, and justice around the planet. In the last week, we shared with you and we shared with the public yet more evidence of the Australian government being complicit in the ongoing genocide in Gaza. And we shared the information about an Australian weapons manufacturer which makes an anti-drone weapon just here in Sydney. And a photograph produced by them, shared by them with their investors. They want more money to invest in their weapons programs here. Shared just in February of an Israeli soldier in Israel holding a weapon made only in Australia, holding a weapon made only in Sydney, and a weapon that's only been produced since April of last year. And indeed, they also shared an image of that same weapon, the drone gun, in the hands of Prime Minister Albanese, when he was in Washington talking war and power and AUKUS and weapons with the US government. And in answer to that, a photograph of an Australian weapon made only since April in the hands of an Israeli soldier in Israel, the same weapon being held by Prime Minister Albanese, we again got gaslighted by the Labor government. And they said that Australia has not sent any weapons to Israel in the last 5 years. Now, on what planet do these two facts live? It's a planet where we're lied to by our government. A government that continues to export weapons parts for the F-35 that goes to the appalling genocide in Gaza. A government that continues to give export permits to our company also, just in New South Wales, Alloy, which sends weaponized hardened steel to the Israeli weapons manufacturers. And it's a government that, as you know to its shame, signed an almost $1 billion contract with an Israeli arms manufacturer just in February of this year. And I'll give you just another little insight into the way this works. Because a fortnight ago, I was at a weapons fair in Perth. A weapons fair where Australia was sponsoring arms manufacturers to sell the AUKUS steel and the ongoing weaponising of our region. Sponsored by the Albanese government, sponsored by the WA government, sponsored by universities across this country. And they invited a weapons manufacturer from Israel called Rafael Systems to that site. And there, in a large convention centre, paid for by the public, they invited Rafael to come and present to the most senior members of the Department of Defence, to the most senior military, to members of the Albanese government and the opposition. And in front of my eyes, Rafael Systems showed video after video after video of their weapons. Their weapons being used in Gaza, their weapons being used in Lebanon, their weapons being used in Yemen to kill Palestinians and the Lebanese and people from Yemen. And they showed these videos in plain sight in a weapons fair in Australia. And do you know what they said? They said this proves they work, because we've experimented on the weapons in Palestine, and they've experimented on the weapons in Lebanon, and they've experimented on the weapons in Yemen, and they said to the Australian government, that's why you should buy our weapons. Well, I say never. We should never buy weapons that have been experimented on the people of Palestine. We should never buy weapons sold by arms manufacturers that are making a killing out of a genocide, and we should cancel every one of those contracts. So again, I want to thank you for coming out. And sometimes you wonder, well, what do you do in the face of a genocide that just seems to be brutally continuing? And today you're doing what you can only do, which is everything in your power to stop a genocide, everything in your power to stop that next child being killed, that family torn apart, everything in our power we can to bend the arc of this planet towards justice, towards a free Palestine where people can live in peace and camaraderie with each other. Thank you again for coming out today.